welcome. It's September and it's the 17th and it's our cooking show. So the first kickoff for the fall semester, we're kind of doing a barbecue theme and we're going to create some black bean burgers. We're going to create a watermelon feta salad, and then we're going to create what we call a blueberry galette. So we're going to get started. But first off, I have to share my shirt because this was brought on by our fearless leader, Jesse, and it was very fun. So you can get a visual of the shirt that's bake it till you make it. So we're good to go. All right, so we're ready for our adventure tonight. Welcome back for anybody that was here last semester, and welcome to all the new group if you're just joining us. Let me get myself set. Oops. So what we're going to start with, so our first task is going to be the black beans. So if you're cooking with us, is anybody cooking with us tonight? Do we have anybody cooking? Yay! Okay, can you hear me all right still? We're good? All right, so we have a couple people cooking. So get your black beans ready to go. And if you haven't rinsed them and drained them, that's what you want to do first. So we have black beans. Here is our start for our black bean burgers. Now remember, veggie burgers can really be made with any kind of bean variety for the most part. And being what is our most famous, or not famous, but what's the most well-known veggie burger? Not necessarily beans, but what's the most well-known? That's the first trivia piece for you. What's our most well-known vegetable burger, or veggie burger, other than an animal product? So spread out your beans. So yes, soybeans or soy burger versions are out there, but what's probably the most popular, well-known one right now in our restaurants? It could be a brand. Towel. We could do you could do anything with burgers, but this one is probably the most well-known out there, right? It's the most popular right now. So what one is that? Let's get our beans going. So there you go. Beyond Burger is actually the most well-known burger out there. So that's not to say that we're not going to create one that's just as good as that Beyond Burger, just a different concept. So spread your beans out. We're going to bake these at 425. No, we're going to 425 is my Galette. So let's bring this down a little bit. Bake. I think I'll actually, and we're going to have to get this out sooner. So you're going to be cooking at 325, but I'm going to do, my oven is still hot from our Galettes, and we're going to turn that back up again once we hit the Galettes, but we're going to bake that, let's say, it says about 15 minutes. So let's try 10 minutes and see where we are. So we'll time it for 10 minutes. While that's cooking, one of the things that we're going to be doing is the blueberry galette. And maceration of fruit is basically like a drunken fruit, or it's softening. So we're going to start the blueberries at this time just to get those skins to soften a bit. And I can actually use my strainer. Wash everything that went home. You know, make sure you have everything washed, your mint, your blueberries, peppers, everything that you went home with. Make sure you put that and rinse it off. So you'll get your blueberries, then we'll rinse them. Okay, and then we'll pat them dry a little bit, just so they're not dripping with water. And I will put them in a bowl. Okay, and you should have sugar and cornstarch and salt and vanilla for the blueberry galette. So get your cornstarch, your sugar. So S for sugar, and a large, there's 2 tablespoons here, cornstarch. And we are going to put that together with the blueberries. Now, one thing I was working on this earlier today, and I like to mix my powder or my cornstarch in. I think I need a bigger, little bit bigger bowl, custard cup we're going to get, and we can mix this. And the only reason I say that is you just don't want to have those chunks of cornstarch in there. So I can mix that together. So cornstarch is going to be our thickening agent that we're going to mix in. But if you can mix those together, that will probably help alleviate any lumps of cornstarch. Okay. Now we're going to add to the galette, we're going to add a quarter of a squeezed lemon, but we have to get the zest off. I can leave that on there. So this is a zester. If you don't have a zester, you can always use a fine cheese grater. You could also, if you don't have that, you could do, you know, little chunks off of the peel. The thing you want to do with zesting is there's that nice yellow. That's really what you're trying to capture when you zest something. So you want to capture that oils of that nice rich flavor versus doing the white part. So we're going to cut this into a half because we need a quarter of lemon. And we're going to zest. It says zesting from, let me double check my recipe. We have to zest from one lemon. So half a lemon, technically we're going to do both these, but then squeeze just the quarter. So I think it would have been easier if you haven't done that and broke it apart. It's a little easier to zest before you squeeze it and just go across the top of your lemon. And again, you're just scraping that surface. You really want to get the oils from the skins. Okay, so you're going to just touch that white and then stop. So zest across. All right, so we're leaving the white behind and we're just picking up the nice yellow. And the reason like I said, the reason we're doing this ahead is just to let these blueberries soak. Blueberries have a fairly thick skin. So we're gonna let them soften a little bit as we go. Okay, so if you don't have, like I said, if you don't have a zester, you could do this on a cheese grater. Scrape off a little bit on with a knife. And then again, if you don't have any of that, you can still scrape off as much as you can. Okay, just watch out, these are sharp. So then we have our zest. We're going to squeeze in that lemon. If you have a lemon press, great. If not, squeeze your lemon. So a quarter. We're going to squeeze that over that. Get as much out as you can. Watch for seeds dropping in. This one doesn't actually have any seeds, so you might be lucky on the ones that you took home as well. All right. So I have my lemon zest, my lemon juice, and then we're going to add in the, I think I need to add my vanilla. So we'll add that. What's that? Yes. Got, oh, V for vanilla. And then G is your pinch of salt for your galette. So that will go in as well. Okay. I'm going to kind of pre-mix this. So actually you can macerate fruit with sugar. You can macerate it with liquor. Like if you like, you could even do vodka, brandy. I mean, it really, it comes down to what your preference is. So it's just basically getting that skin to soften. And what happens is there's process of osmosis where the sugar wants to go into the berries and then it's pulling that water out. So sugar is hygroscopic, which means it pulls water out. So then once you put the sugar on, it's pulling the water out of those skins and allows it to make a little bit more, even a little bit more juice there. So we're going to shake over onto the blueberries. And you can kind of stir them as you go. And then we'll let those sit. Okay. So here is our, we want to mix this really good. So we have that acidy lemon juice along with our sugars. And then we are allowing this to sit for a bit to soften up those blueberries. So that should be ready to go. That's all that we're going to do right now with the berries. And then we're going to let that sit. In the meantime, we can get our chopping up of your black bean ingredients. So have your black bean ingredients out, which is your pepper. How are we doing on, are we doing okay on the group outside? Okay. So yes, we have the beans time. Great. So we're going to get our onion. You have about 1/4 of an onion. You have 1/4 of a bell pepper, and you have garlic and cumin. So you have black bean BBS, black bean spices. We have this will be your oil for going into the black bean burger as well. So one of the things that you want to do is if you have plenty of oil. If you want to save half, we're going to do a pan fry. It talks about a baking process for the black bean burgers, but we're going to actually do a pan fry tonight. And you can also, I made these on the weekend, you can actually grill them on your grill. And I did not put anything on the grill other than just the burger. So it talked about putting it on parchment paper to go in the stove, but in the oven, but you can actually just put it right on your grill. You might want to put a little bit of oil on the grill area so they don't stick too bad, but that will work as well. So we've got the beans going, and we're going to get our olive oil heated up. So we'll add that to, and again, use about half. And then we're going to cut up our pepper. So rinse off your pepper. This is actually for up here. Rinse your pepper. And this is for a fine chop. So if you've ever done a fine chop, you just want to get started with some lines of your pepper. And then we'll finely chop it. And again, just watch your fingers. Okay, so we're going to chop this up. It's really for the visual of what you'll see in your burger. If you'd like to have chunks of bell pepper in your burger, then you can leave them a little bit bigger. But if you want that small, subtle taste, rather than the pepper taste, you can make it smaller. And again, you could use any color pepper. This one talks about green peppers, but you could literally use any color. It's really there for flavor and for visual. Okay. So we've got we'll do a little more chopping. Time is up on my beans. So let me pull those out real quick. And we will see what we have. So our purpose is basically to dry these out. And so they are okay if they look a little bit like they've come out of their skins a bit. That's okay, because we want to mash them at the end. So that looks actually pretty good. So you should have that broken down bean to start with. So we'll let those cool for a second while we do our pepper and onions. So we're going to saute the pepper and the onions and the garlic. So we're going to slice this one, and we need to do the whole 1/4. So again, this is finely chopped. So if anybody remembers what we did last semester or last year, we talked about doing that sliced version of it where you could slice a bunch of layers and then cut across. So, whoops, I was going to try that with a 1/4. Generally, when you have a whole onion, it's much easier, but we can still try and do it with this smaller 1/4. So we're going to combine it and get it all stacked back up, and then we can do a real fine diced. if anything gets loose on us, we can chop it on the side, but this will just save you a little bit of time instead of having to chop layer by layer. Okay. And again, it's how much you really want to taste at one time. So it's how much you're going to bite into. And I think we got it pretty well. Nice slices. And you can cut that core, keep the core out. Okay. A few big pieces, but otherwise looking good. And then if you have if you want to use a garlic press or you want to mince your garlic, cut that little end off that has where it came off of the head. And then we can mince. So again, mincing is really just a process of how small you want it. If you have a garlic press, you're in good shape. And how do I get that garlic smell off my hands? Well, if I have anything stainless, which is usually your faucets, you know, if you had that garlic smell and you want to get rid of it, you rub your faucet, massage your faucet with cold water, and it will take away that garlic smell. Okay. So here is our pepper, onion, garlic. We're ready to go without a hot burner. So let's turn our burner on. Get that up. So our beans look good. We're gonna put this together, and then you should have feta and some panko breadcrumbs. I'm gonna stir my berries a little bit. They're getting nice and covered. Okay. We have egg also. So you can have your egg ready. So we have the Worcestershire sauce. Wow, there it is. So that is mixed with your either ketchup, mayonnaise. Did they mix it with? Ketchup. So ketchup and Worcestershire sauce. Okay. One of those fun words to say. So have that ready, and then we'll do our egg. Now, one of the things with an egg is crack it over a bowl. So in case you get a shell, you wouldn't have that in your food. Okay. Yes, also in case the egg is bad. Interesting, I was doing this at home, a fork, and my egg yolk was really pale. This one is really nice and colorful, but for anybody that's been in some of the cooking classes or has had some egg background, why would my yolk be lighter? That's a good trivial question for you. What made my yolk be lighter? I thought actually it was really odd that my eggs looked pale, but they're fine. They weren't bad. It's just they were pale. So what made my egg look pale? Anybody know? It actually is from, or maybe I didn't give you enough time to think about that one yet. I'll let that one sit for a minute. All right, let's get our veggies sauteing. Okay. Get those sauteing, and I'll get a spoon really quick, a wooden spoon. We're gonna just get this going and saute. About 5-6 minutes. So 5-6 minutes a time. Oops. Got some peppers jumping out of the pan. Okay, saute. That's gonna just bring out those flavors. Introduce the flavors of the pepper, the onion, the garlic all together. All right. We've got those sauteing. We don't have to stir them the whole time. In the meantime, we're going to get in a bowl. Actually, I probably should get a bigger bowl. And we are going to put together the remaining ingredients. So you have a BBS, and that is the black bean spices. So that's all the spices that were required. And we're going to put all that together with the breadcrumbs. The cheese. Okay. And the egg theory. Nobody's got that. What's going to change my egg yolk? We haven't talked about that. My 181 currently, we haven't talked about that. But if you've had me at 181, you should remember that one. I hope. We talked about it last semester. We did. What did we do with eggs in the spring? We did something where we talked about it. I think it was around April. You got to remember what's going to change the egg yolk. Something changes the yolk and something changes the shell, but we have to figure out what changes the egg yolk. Anybody here know? Chicken eats, right. So if we feed a chicken something a little different, we change the color of the yolk. So what happened obviously is the Costco chickens that I bought, Costco eggs that I had, they must be giving their chickens a little bit of a different feed, which is changing the color of their egg yolk. All right, still same, no nutritional variance, but it's interesting how the colors will change. And in Japan, they feed their chickens paprika and chili powder. Now, chickens can't tell the difference between the spice. They just eat the feed, and their egg yolks in Japan are bright, brilliant, kind of that dark burnt orange, like what we would want to see. Looks like it has a lot of beta carotene, but it's actually from the feed having those ingredients added. Okay, so your mixture should look like that. We're going to eventually get our pepper and onion mixture in there, and then we'll add the beans. So in the meantime, you do have a large, hopefully your watermelon is cut, and we're going to get that ready for the dressing. And so in our salad, as you're waiting maybe for these to cook a bit, you can actually use my cutting board and flip it over. We can cut our cucumber, and again, wash it. If it has any spots that got soft, you can cut those out. So we're going to wash our cucumber. So I have a few spots, if you can see, like a few areas that we'll just cut those out. Cucumbers are very perishable, so they will decay pretty quickly. So if you're not cooking with us tonight, make sure you use those cucumbers pretty quick. Okay. All right. So we're going to dice up our cucumber. So again, you can do it down the center. Okay. Give yourself something sturdy to go off of. And we can dice those up. So it says just chop. So really it's again at your preference to size. So if you give yourself maybe thirds, you can cut it. And Kelly's going to stir my onions. Thanks, Kelly. You got to have like 8 arms when you cook sometimes. All right. So you can line up your cucumber, give yourself some nice chops. Then it kind of gets all done at one time. So when you're cooking, it's really about how can we save time and be most efficient. So perfect. You might turn off if you're cooking, sauteing your onions and peppers, you might turn that off. Okay, perfect. So we sauteed our peppers and our garlic and our onion. So we'll add that to our cheese mixture. And it talks about blotting it. I think it talked about blotting the, blot the moisture out. There's not a whole lot of moisture. We've dried our beans out, so you should be pretty okay to put these in without having to blot them. So we're gonna add it to our cheese and spices mixture and breadcrumbs and egg as well. That over there. And now you have a good mix. And so we're gonna kind of combine that together. Okay. Now we're ready to add the black beans. So our black beans have cooled. And again, you'll know, so when you dry them out, you'll know how well they smash. And that's what we really want. We want to see that they can smash up. We're going to add it to our wetter ingredients and then they'll mix nicely and you can have that mash. If you don't have a masher at home, you can use the back of a spoon, you can use a fork, whatever is easiest for you to get that smashed consistency. Really, you want to leave some of the beans whole so that you have that visual. And we'll just dump it right into the bowl. Okay. Then we'll get this out of the way. Okay. Give that a good mix. Now this is where you can adjust your smasher. So you can, like I said, you can smash with a fork. If you have a food processor, this is what it talked about. You put this in the food processor, but really you don't need any of that fancy stuff. You can do all these recipes without any fancy equipment. Okay. So again, get your beans to the point where it's soft enough, mashable enough that we can make a patty, but you still want to have some whole beans as well. How's everybody doing out there? Good? All right. So there's your mixture. And again, if you want to go smashed further, you can smash as far as down as you want. If sometimes the fork is pretty easy. Your consistency, your choice. We want it to stick together. So what we want to see is that if we put it together, it will stick. If we do veggie burgers or garden burgers or this kind of a feature, really the true thing is to bind it. So what was our binding agent in this burger? What did we use to bind it? Does anybody recall? Oh, and I'm going to use we were going to pan saute it. So I'll leave these for later. Does anybody know what we used to bind this? I'm going to set those aside. We're going to wait for it. So, and we'll make burgers. What did we use to bind it? Okay. Coming back to our salad, the eggs, good. The eggs is your binder. So if you do make a vegan burger, if you want to make a vegetarian vegan style, you could use a milk alternative with some breadcrumbs. We use the breadcrumbs in the mix, so you still are giving that binding. So you're allowing for a little bit of moisture and the breadcrumbs, and it'll bind it together. Okay, we're ready to finish our salad. So you've got your cucumber nicely diced up, chopped up, and you have a bag of feta. Okay, and you have a bag of mint, and I want you to wash your mint. So just give it a quick rinse. Get that out of the bag. Mint is very easy to grow. If you put it in a pot, it will grow well, but if you put it in a garden, it will spread like a weed. So be careful if you don't want too much mint in your garden. You can get rid of some of those thicker, I think we might take off some of the edge, the stems. They're a little thicker and coarser versus like a cilantro was softer. So these are a little tougher. The ends is not so bad, but the middle stem is a little bit firm, a little fibery. Okay, so we'll peel those off. That'll be ready to chop up. So we can chop up our mint, and I will rinse off my knife really quick. So we're gonna chop this mint up. So a couple ways you can do it is just, and if you really wanted to do something fancy, I've taught classes this, you could do the chiffonade version where you fold, you get it all together and then you roll it up like a cigar, and you'll get a little bit prettier of a mint versus just chopped. That will take you a while. So I would understand if you want to try and do it chopped, but that just gives you a little bit kind of a lacier version. So we'll do that for that little bit, and then we will chop up the rest. Flip my cutting board. Again, size is what you want to taste. So it does say chopped, coarsely chopped. So if you want to save a little bit, I didn't save a little bit out of for the garnish, but we had some for our other bowl that we created. So we have that ready. You also now have a red onion that we need to finely slice. So let's put together salad dressing first before we get our onion. Salad dressing is RS, so rock salt, instead of in place of kosher salt. So we got that. You have extra virgin olive oil, so another container of oil. We have FS. Oh, flaky sea salt for the N, so hold on to your FS. Make sure you don't use that in place of the rock salt. And then you have red wine vinegar. Okay, I gotta add that to my black beans. I will use this, and we're gonna just whisk. So you're kind of trying to create that dressing. And yes, oil and vinegar don't stay together for long. So if you whisk it up and you can get it at least going, and that will help that salt just to somewhat dissolve. You can kind of see where it stays in chunks. So we want to get that to dissolve a little bit. All right. So I think I need to do a bigger bowl. We're going to put, I can actually leave it in here. So in a large serving bowl, you have your watermelon. You're going to do your cucumber. So we're going to scrape up our cucumber. Okay, we'll mix that together. You're going to actually put your mint in here as well. So it's okay to have it all blend because we're going to stir that up. Oh, yes. So there's 5 types of watermelons. I got to come back over this way so I have all my cheat sheets. So we have, let me find my 5 types of watermelons. Does anybody know what 5 types there are? 5 types of watermelon. So I got to cut up my onion while we're thinking of that. So what types of watermelon, 5 types of watermelon do we have? Kelly, I'm going to come back and grab. They're 90% water. So that's why watermelons are called watermelons. 90% water. So when you're out there looking for that best watermelon, yeah, Thai is one of the options. What else do we have out there? Yes, there are yellows and there are oranges. What else? Probably comes down, you're not necessarily species, but well, more of one has this and one doesn't have this, if that helps. One has it, one doesn't. So yeah, there you go. And if it's seedless, what else do we have? So you did. Okay. So if you're grocery shopping for a watermelon, what you can do is, and I'm going to cut these onions just in half again, but we've got some really nice slices. So again, this takes a little bit of time. You're just kind of doing a shaved onion. What are some tricks that some of you use to pick a watermelon? You'll see people shop for it.
For
this
a
is
pale
what you might
side.
see. What do people, how do you shop for a watermelon? Has anybody ever done this? I'll tell you what will help to check for a watermelon's ripeness, but I figured I'd see if anybody has any. Yeah. Thump that melon. This is the time you can pick it up and actually like knock on it, you know, hit it. It needs to have a hollow sound. So why am I looking for hollow? What is that? That sounds like it would be empty, but the hollow actually is all aligned with the fact that the juice has absorbed into the fruit and that the structure is solid. So you're not getting this watery fruit meat when you open that watermelon up. So that's why that thumping works. Then you also can look for that good, they call it a creamy yellow spot on the bottom, and that's where it was sitting on the ground to ripen. Okay. All right. So if you have some large pieces in here, we're going to slice it up. Remember, if you love onions, this is great for you. But if you don't want to have that huge bite, you can slice it down into smaller segments. Okay. All right. Thanks, Jesse, for reminding me about that. So watermelons are used and served either as fresh fruit or as salads. You can grill a watermelon on the grill. Sounds crazy, but you can actually grill it. And the sweet and salty combination that we're going to get with this recipe is all due to the fact that when you pair certain flavors together, you end up with that salty sweet. And if we think of all our tastes, how many tastes do we technically have? How many things can we distinguish taste wise? So there's another trivia question. I still got some. How many tastes do we have? 5. So what are they? We have salty, we have sour, we have bitter, we have sweet, and then we have the umami or savory. So savory was actually found in Japan back in, where do I have that down? I think it was 1910. A Japanese researcher actually found that umami consistency or that umami flavoring. So we actually can pick that up. And it was the glutamic acid or the aspartate in a product that creates that savoriness. So we think of natural savory foods, and one of them is mushrooms. Sorry, and I'm adding my feta on top of my watermelon. So mushrooms are naturally higher in glutamic acid, as well as meats, cheeses. So we're going to get that savoriness from our feta cheese and allow for that really nice blend of flavors. So I need a spoon to stir, and we'll stir this and toss this a little bit and kind of mix that up before I put my dressing. And you can see my dressing has kind of separated a bit, so just whisk it back up. My salt is pretty much blended really well. So we'll kind of delicately use the spoon and try and toss you want to get your mint and your feta and your onions all mixed together. And I probably could have used a different size bowl. Remember, give yourself space to mix things up. All right. So it's lots of nice colors too. We have some fun things, fun colors happening there. All right. So we're going to mix this up one more time. You can see that red wine vinegar is coming out a little bit. So we're going to mix it. So this actually makes a pink dressing. Okay. We'll pour that on top and let it kind of marinate in its juices. Okay. You can try and stir it a little bit again. Again, you might have to toss it before you eat it. That's your, just mixing it up one more time, because that marinade or that dressing will settle down to the bottom of it. So we're just going to try and keep it moving. So there's, you can let that sit. All right. We can do the galettes, so we can get those going in the oven. And I need to do a half pan with parchment. The preheat is 425, right, on the galettes. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Leave our, we have a 425. So we'll turn this up a little bit. Start. And it'll preheat. In the meantime, make sure you add your seasoning to your black bean burgers. That was one thing I had left on the side. So we're going to add that in. Here is my, oh, this is perfect. Great consistency. So that gives you that, we're going to make patties out of this. Perfect consistency. Okay. Those are ready to go. We're going to put the galettes together just so they're baking. And we're going to get that. Here is your pie crust. I have a parchment paper here. If you don't have parchment paper at home, let's say you're going to make this another time and you don't have parchment paper, you can use a little bit of Crisco. It's just to help reduce the stick to a pan. So you could use Crisco or butter on the bottom of your pan if you don't have that. And then we're going to cut this into like a 4.5 inch circle. Oops. So if you leave it out, I should have mentioned, put it out at room temperature, so it's a little more flexible to work with. But we're going to get that 4.5 inch circle. And so if you wanted to get really picky about how you're measuring, you know, find something that would be close to that. So rough guesstimate of 4.5 inches. And you're going to try and get as much of your dough used without losing it. So we're going to do 3. But here's the great thing. You actually end up with more than 3. So you can actually make 4 or 5. So you can take the leftover dough. If you don't handle it too much, you can actually make this into another couple. So you could smash that out and turn it into another form. You might not have as much blueberries in there, but that way you're at least not wasting your dough. And I'll show you how we're going to use that. So you might actually get 6 out of 1 dough, depending on how much filling you put in, because it does talk about a 1/4 cup. But remember, these are little, they're meant to be just a little cake. A galette is basically like a mini cake. All right, so here is our berries. And I'm going to put some into, we're going to try and get that liquid in there. So we're going to put some in the center. And these berries have various sizes. So that's why I did even more rounds. It'll help kind of get that, because these are such bigger berries. I use my 4 rounds first. Again, you want to get that cornstarch mixture, sugar mixture to come in. So if you have some that's left, we're going to add it to that. I think I can get away with one more. This will be a tiny one. Okay, a little bit of juice. There we go. Okay. Now, here's the fun part. You basically are folding these over your berries. So just if you kind of get started on one side and you kind of have to hold all together, and you just want to fold it up as much as you can onto the edges. So you're basically creating like this nice little envelope, little pocket for your berries to stay into. Okay. So you're going to look for that type of a final visual. And again, it takes both hands to kind of grab all this together and make it come together. Okay. And if you feel like your berries is too much, then you can always spread it out. Talks about an inch, so get as close to that center as you can. You might have to come back and touch those up a little bit. Oops. Okay. This one's going to be that really thinned out or not as much fruit. But again, I just did that because I had that extra dough. Okay. Now, before we put these in the oven, we're going to do an egg wash. Why an egg wash? Do it in this bowl. Again, we're going to crack it over a bowl. Tough skin. What's the egg wash for? How does that help us? Anybody know? Oh, we do a tablespoon of water. Guesstimate. So tablespoon of water, your egg. Now it calls for 1 whole egg for the whole recipe. We did a half a recipe. So again, watch your amount. You're not going to use all of this. So did we have a base? Did you guys use a basting brush? So you're going to take this and baste around the edges. Again, what's our purpose of this? Gives it that nice browned, toasty color once it's baked. You could use, you could probably even do it with like a towel, you could, or a paper towel, you could do it with your finger. I mean, it really, it's your call. You can be creative without a basting brush. So we created that macerated blueberry mixture. And one of the things that you don't have to worry about getting too, I'm trying to get rid of the shallots that came off on with the egg. Okay, so it's just to help with the browning. It'll help give that golden color. So some breads actually do egg washes before you bake them. So it gives that nice color. And it'll also help for our turbinado sugar, which came in your package. So TS is turbinado sugar, and that's just natural brown sugar. So we're gonna, and it will be a little sticky, clumpy together, so you can just go along the edges. If it goes on the paper, that's okay too. And you probably won't use all of this sugar, but you can use up as much as you need for the edges. Okay. And then those are ready to bake. And they will bake for about 15, 20 minutes. Really watch your oven and watch what happens with them. So that's going in and they're gonna bake just like that, 15 to 20 minutes. And while those are baking, we'll make our patties. Those go in the oven. We're gonna make our patties. We're gonna do our saute pan. And I think I had a little bit more trivia for you. So we talked about seasonings. Is hot and spicy an actual taste? True or false? Hot and spicy, is that a taste or is that just a sensation? What do we think? Spice or a flavor or a sensation? So we're gonna, yeah, it's actually not a spice. So it's from obviously from your peppers and everything that you add or you're eating. So instead of doing the parchment paper in the oven, like I said, we're gonna pan fry these so you can use the rest of your oil for your burger. And if you wanna use a little bit at a time, you can. We're gonna get this nice and hot. So we'll share with you at least one, we'll get through one patty. And make your patties as big as you want to match your bun size. And you can toast the buns and make those warm. But if I look at my bun, remember the nice thing about these is they don't shrink because they don't have a whole lot of moisture. So we're gonna have a nice, will you get one out for me, Jesse? And we're gonna have that nice shape. So get your shape and divide if you made the 1 can of beans, you're gonna divide it kind of in that size. So we're looking about the same size. Remember, these need to cook up to 165 just to kill for the kill step. So 165 and get those and get your oil nice and hot and you can fry your black bean burger. Okay, we're gonna let that fry up. And back to a couple last minute things and then we'll be all done. So biggest watermelon. How much was the record holder watermelon? Does anybody have a guess? I mean, yeah, you'd probably Google it and look it up, but what's a guess? Spatula. How many pounds is the largest watermelon ever harvested? It was actually in the United States, Tennessee to be exact. 50 pounds, that's a great guess, but we're like way over that. How big could that biggest watermelon be? How big could we get a watermelon? When you think about pounds, they've had some 1,000-pound pumpkins out there. So how big could we get a watermelon? They can get really big. So a gentleman in Tennessee, he grew a 350-pound watermelon. 350 pounds. Now they didn't say if it was tasty or not, but they just said it was 350 pounds. So that was in 2013, record holder for watermelon. Watermelon's grown in rows and it's on raised beds so that it can grow and the melons aren't being saturated with the water that's irrigating for them. So they're grown on raised beds. So kind of another little trivial piece there. Watermelons actually have a lot of beneficial pieces to them. We kind of talk about them as far as they're 90% water. So what are we getting out of them? Well, you can get potassium. They do have antioxidants. So they do have some good things. And of course we can do a lot with them. So again, picking that right one is the choice. And it lasts about, once you start cutting it up, it'll last about 4 to 5 days in the fridge covered. If you use the rind, you could pickle the rind and eat the rinds, or you can make a display, a basket. So the rinds will last about a day if you carved a watermelon. But again, you can do lots of things with watermelon. You can eat the whole thing. You can actually truly eat the whole, even the seeds. It takes a lot of seeds to be an issue, but you can actually eat the seeds, and those white seeds that are in those seedless ones, you can also eat. All right. So that is frying up nicely. And then of course you can toast your bun if you'd like. And our salad is ready to roll. We need to add one last ingredient on our salad, and that is the flaky salt. So when you're ready to serve, you get that flaky salt. So if you are, for those of you that didn't have ingredients, you can see the difference in the texture. Okay. So we're just going to sprinkle that across the top. Creates that nice, it's visually appealing, as well as you're going to get that nice flavor as you mix it. So mix it one more time. Garnish it with some mint if you'd like. And it's ready to serve. So there is your fruit salad. We have our burger that has finished. Ooh, it's coming apart. Try pack your burgers a little tight. Get that tightness to it, and that way it will stay together. That's probably the biggest challenge of using anything beans, because they tend to fall apart. But again, you can try and pack it really good. So our final products that we have to show you, and we can share with you what your goal is. So here is your black bean burger. Your, do this so I don't, we have watermelon salad. So all that nice juice, that is good stuff. That's basically like that marinated fruit. So mix it up, as well as here is your blueberry galette. So happy cooking to those of you that didn't get a chance to cook with us. Enjoy your Friday evenings with us. Thanks for joining us on a Friday. Fabulous to have you back. We welcome you back to the fall. We're going to keep this rolling. So we'll see you in October. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, Professor.